Let's begin with the truth most people don't want to hear. Struggle is not a detour. It's not a sign that you're broken, weak, or lost. Struggle is the path. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It will break open every illusion of control you thought you had. And yes, it will hurt, but beneath that pain, there is power, there is growth, there is the beginning of something unstoppable. Too many of us have been taught that vulnerability is weakness, that pain should be hidden, and that falling apart is failure. But I want you to know something deeply, down to your bones, your willingness to struggle, to keep going when things feel impossible, is not just courage, it's transformation in motion. There's a common belief that struggle is a detour from success, a signal that something has gone wrong or that we are off course. But the truth is far more empowering and, at times, far more difficult to accept. Struggle is not a sign of weakness, it's proof that you're growing. The pain you're feeling, the confusion you're navigating, the nights you lie awake questioning your path, those are not the marks of failure. Those are the birthmarks of transformation. Those are the growing pains of someone who is daring to become more than what they were yesterday. Growth doesn't happen in silence. It doesn't arrive peacefully, wrapped in a bow. It doesn't announce itself with easy mornings and clear skies. Growth arrives in the mess, in the discomfort, in the gut-wrenching uncertainty of being stretched beyond what's familiar. The human spirit wasn't made to thrive in comfort zones. We weren't designed to live small, safe, untouched by adversity. We were built to adapt. We were wired for resilience. And the only way that wiring activates is when we are pushed, when we are challenged, when the path forward demands more of us than we think we have. It's easy to feel strong when life is cooperating. It's easy to feel confident when doors open easily, when people agree with your ideas, when your plans play out exactly the way you imagined. But that's not where character is built. That's not where soul is forged. Strength is not measured by how well we perform when things are easy. Strength is proven by what we do when everything is hard, when the door slams shut, when the path disappears, when nothing makes sense, but we still choose to take one more step. When you're in the thick of it, it's tempting to think something is wrong with you. That maybe you're not cut out for this. That maybe others don't struggle like this. But what if your struggle isn't proof of your failure? What if it's proof of your fight? What if every moment you feel like giving up and choose not to is actually a sign that you're rising, even if you don't feel it yet? What if every difficult emotion, every setback, every internal war you fight is a sign that you're still in the arena, still showing up, still daring to be seen, still trying when it would be so much easier to walk away? The truth is, the only people who never struggle are the ones who never try. The ones who live behind masks, the ones who play it safe, who never risk, who never dare. But you're different. You've chosen the harder road. You've said yes to the challenge. You've chosen growth, even if you didn't realize that's what you were choosing when you said yes to your dreams, your calling, your healing. And with that choice comes struggle. Because transformation isn't gentle. It tears, it burns. It undoes everything you thought you knew so that something stronger, braver, and more aligned can take its place. Sometimes we believe that if we were truly strong, we wouldn't be feeling this much pain. But real strength is feeling it fully and not letting it harden us. Real strength is crying and getting back up. It's doubting and still daring. It's shaking and still stepping forward. There's no version of growth that doesn't come with resistance. Like a seed breaking through the earth, like muscles tearing to become stronger, like a butterfly fighting its way out of the cocoon, the struggle isn't the obstacle. It's the process. It's what makes the next version of you possible. And make no mistake, you are becoming a new version of yourself. Every day you choose to keep going, even with fear in your chest. Every time you fall and refuse to stay down. Every time you speak truth in a world that prefers silence. That's evolution. That's what growth looks like. Not a straight line, not a polished performance, but a messy, raw, beautiful struggle towards something better. We often compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, and in doing so, we shame ourselves for the natural, necessary process of becoming, but no one escapes the struggle, not the strong, not the successful, not the wise. What sets people apart isn't how little they struggle, it's how deeply they commit to growing through it, to showing up anyway, to believing in a future they can't yet see, to trusting that this pain has a purpose even when the meaning hasn't revealed itself yet. So when the weight feels unbearable, when the progress seems invisible, when the doubt screams louder than your hope, remember this. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are asterisk becoming asterisk. You are shedding who you were to make space for who you are meant to be. That process will never feel clean. It will never be linear, but it will be asterisk worth it asterisk. Because the version of you that exists on the other side of this struggle is stronger, wiser, more grounded, and more alive than you can even imagine right now. In everything you're going through, the pain, the pressure, the process, it's shaping that version of you right now, in real time, through every choice to keep going when it would be easier to stop. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. We live in a world that rewards armor. We're taught to be strong, to be composed, to never show too much, never feel too deeply, never let anyone see what's really going on beneath the surface. The message is clear. Emotions are messy, and messiness is weakness. But that message is a lie, a dangerous lie, because vulnerability is not weakness, it's power, and not just any power. It's the raw, real, resilient kind of power that transforms pain into courage, fear into action, and uncertainty into connection. To be vulnerable is to be brave in a world that tells you to hide. It's to tell the truth when your voice shakes. It's to ask for help when you've been told you're supposed to have it all together. It's to say, this is hard, instead of pretending you're fine, and that kind of honesty, that kind of emotional exposure. It's one of the bravest things a person can do, because it's easy to perform. It's easy to wear the mask. It's easy to numb out, to shut down, to push your pain so far down that not even you can touch it. But it takes real courage to stay soft in a world that tries to make you hard. Vulnerability is not crying in front of everyone or spilling your secrets to anyone who listens. It's not about being dramatic or emotionally raw without boundaries. Vulnerability is about truth. It's about being seen fully, honestly, imperfectly. It's about choosing to show up without a guarantee of how others will receive you. It's about risking rejection, judgment, and misunderstanding for the sake of living authentically. Because the alternative, hiding who you are, pretending you don't feel, pretending you don't need, that's not strength. That's survival, and you were not made just to survive. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you send a message to the world that says, I'm not afraid to be real. And that kind of realness is rare. It's magnetic. It's healing. Vulnerability builds bridges between people. It's the force that breaks through isolation, the language that creates connection, the truth that gives others permission to do the same. When you share your story, when you let someone see the parts of you you've been taught to hide, your fear, your grief, your insecurity, your shame, you are not burdening the world, you are freeing it. Because you are reminding everyone that they are not alone. There's something deeply human about vulnerability. It doesn't matter how successful someone is, how strong they appear, or how perfect their life looks from the outside. Every human being experiences doubt. Every human being knows fear. And every human being carries wounds. What separates the ones who rise with strength from those who get stuck in silence isn't their lack of pain, it's their willingness to be honest about it. It's their refusal to let fear close them off. It's their choice to keep their hearts open, even when it hurts. You don't build resilience by pretending you're invincible. You build it by allowing yourself to feel the full weight of your experiences and then choosing to keep going. Vulnerability is what allows us to do that. It keeps us open to our emotions instead of avoiding them. It keeps us grounded in reality instead of escaping into distraction. It reminds us that pain is not something to be ashamed of, it's something to move through. And when you allow yourself to move through it, instead of running from it, you grow, you expand, you come out on the other side with deeper wisdom, richer compassion, and more strength than you knew you had. The reason most people resist vulnerability isn't because they're weak, it's because they're afraid of being judged, afraid of not being enough, afraid of losing control. But the truth is, vulnerability doesn't make you more fragile, it makes you more free. When you stop performing, when you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold, when you stop hiding your truth to make others comfortable, that's when you reclaim your power, because your power was never in the mask. It was always in the asterisk you asterisk behind the mask, the real you, the one who dares to say, "This is me, this is what I feel, this is what I need." You don't need to be perfect to be worthy. You don't need to have it all figured out to be valuable. You don't need to fake strength to be strong. The world has enough polished, distant, performative people. What it needs is people who are rooted in truth, people who have walked through fire and still choose to be open. People who aren't afraid to say, "I'm struggling, but I'm still here." People who have the kind of quiet, unshakable strength that comes from being fully human, messy, emotional, complicated, and courageous all at once. The most powerful version of you isn't the one who hides their pain and keeps their guard up. It's the one who embraces every part of themselves, especially the parts that feel too much, too tender, too unguarded. Because those are the parts that carry your depth. Those are the parts that hold your compassion. Those are the parts that connect you to your purpose, to others, and to life itself. Vulnerability doesn't make you weak. It makes you whole, and wholeness, not perfection, is where your real strength lies. The struggle you're in today is not wasted. It's not random. It's not meaningless. It may feel heavy, confusing, or even unbearable, but it is doing something deep beneath the surface. It's building the fire you'll lead with tomorrow. Struggle doesn't just shape you. It forges you. It's the hidden place where your strength is being developed, where your grit is being refined, and where the deepest parts of you are being tested and transformed. You can't see it yet, but something powerful is happening within you right now. This fire, this internal drive, this unshakable resilience, this fierce passion for purpose, doesn't come from success. It doesn't come from applause or achievements or external validation. It's born from pain. It's born in the moments when everything feels like it's falling apart and you make the choice to rise anyway. The fire is built when you've been knocked down so many times you lose count, but you still find a way to crawl forward. It's formed in those silent nights where you sit with your fear, your doubt, your heartbreak, and you still decide to try again tomorrow. Most people want the fire, but they don't want the friction that creates it. They want the strength, but not the struggle, the impact, but not the isolation, the purpose, but not the pain, but that's not how it works. The people who carry deep influence, who radiate authenticity and wisdom, they didn't arrive there through ease. They arrived there through endurance, through failure, through heartbreak, through long seasons of silence and self-reflection. They earned their fire, and so are you. You may not realize it right now, but your greatest leadership, your ability to impact others, to guide with empathy, to speak with truth and conviction, will come not from the chapters of your life where everything made sense, but from the ones where nothing did. The messy chapters, the uncertain chapters, the ones you wanted to skip, those are the ones shaping you into someone who leads with compassion rather than control, humility rather than pride, and wisdom rather than arrogance. The pain you're walking through today is teaching you things no textbook ever could. It's making you more real, more honest, more human, and those qualities are what the world desperately needs. We don't need more perfect people. We need people who have been broken and still show up with open hearts, people who have failed but still fight for integrity, people who have been through darkness but carry light anyway, and those kinds of people are created, not in comfort, but in challenge. The fire being built in you right now will not only shape your future, it will become your greatest gift to others. The same pain that makes you question everything today will become the story that inspires someone else tomorrow. The very thing that once made you feel small will become the reason someone else feels seen, because when you rise from your own ashes, you don't just rise for yourself, you rise for everyone who's still sitting in theirs. Your fire becomes a torch, a light, a reminder that healing is possible, that strength can be rebuilt, that hope is not naive, it's necessary. We often think that fire comes from motivation, from excitement, from passion. And yes, those things have their place, but the deepest fire, the one that doesn't burn out when life gets hard, that comes from perseverance, from staying when you want to run, from trying again after you've failed, from getting out of bed on the days when everything feels pointless. That fire is built by choice, not by comfort. It's built by showing up for yourself again and again until your consistency becomes your confidence. Struggle reveals what's inside of you. It exposes the gaps in your mindset, the beliefs you've inherited that no longer serve you, the patterns you've been repeating unconsciously. And once you see those things, you get the power to change them. The struggle teaches you to stop abandoning yourself when things get hard. It teaches you how to self-soothe, how to be present with your pain without being consumed by it. It sharpens your self-awareness, your emotional strength, your ability to respond instead of react. And those are the exact tools that make you a powerful force in this world. Not because you are loud or bold, but because you are anchored, clear, and steady. Every time you push through something hard, your threshold for what you can handle expands. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to realize that your feelings are valid, but they don't control you. That discomfort is part of growth, not a reason to retreat. That pain can be a teacher if you allow it to be. And that your fire, once ignited, can never be taken from you. Not by failure, not by rejection, not even by loss, because it wasn't given to you by the world, and it can't be taken by the world. It was built by you. Lit in the furnace of your own willingness to endure, to face yourself, and to keep going even when there was no applause, no recognition, no assurance that it would be worth it. This current season may feel heavy, slow, or even unbearable at times. But underneath the surface, something powerful is taking shape. Every day you stay in it, every tear you cry, every time you breathe through the ache instead of running from it, you are stacking wood for the fire that will carry you. You are building a foundation that no storm can shake. You are cultivating the kind of presence that moves others not because you shout the loudest, but because you know what it's like to walk through the fire and survive. That kind of strength can't be faked. It can't be taught. It can only be lived. There's a difference between being broken and breaking open. One implies defeat, the other transformation. One suggests something is damaged beyond repair. The other signals that something new is being born. When life brings you to your knees, when everything you thought was certain falls apart, and you feel like you've shattered into pieces, it's easy to believe you're broken. But what if you're not? What if this pain, this loss, this confusion? What if it's the opening? The beginning of something deeper, stronger, more aligned with who you truly are? We spend so much of our lives trying to hold everything together. We try to manage appearances, protect our hearts, meet expectations, avoid judgment, stay in control. But all that effort often builds walls inside us. We become distant from ourselves, disconnected from our truth. And then, one day, life comes along with something we didn't ask for: grief, betrayal, failure, change, and those walls begin to crack. It feels like everything is falling apart, but in reality, something powerful is happening. We are being cracked open so that we can reconnect with who we truly are beneath the performance, beneath the pretending, beneath the pressure. Breaking open is not neat. It's not predictable. It doesn't follow a schedule or a formula. It feels raw, overwhelming, and at times unbearable. There are days when you can't find your footing, when the pain feels too much, when you question everything about who you are and where you're going. But in that sacred unraveling, something real begins to emerge. Not the version of you that was shaped by fear or perfectionism or approval. Seeking. The real you. The one who exists underneath all that noise. The one who knows what matters. The one who feels deeply, loves fiercely, and dares to live with open hands and an open heart. It's a painful process, yes, but it's also necessary, because we don't grow by staying closed. We don't evolve by staying comfortable. The greatest shifts in our lives come when we are broken open by truth about ourselves, about others, about life, and in that breaking, we begin to release what no longer serves us. We start to see the lies we've believed, the roles we've played, the stories we've told ourselves out of fear. And once we see them, we have the power to change them, not overnight, not perfectly, but piece by piece, breath by breath. There's something incredibly powerful about the moment when you stop pretending to be okay, when you allow yourself to feel the full depth of your pain instead of numbing it, denying it, or burying it beneath productivity or perfection. In that moment, you're not giving up. You're waking up. You're saying, "This hurts, but I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still open." That kind of honesty is where healing begins. That's where resilience is born, not in avoidance, but in acceptance. You may feel like you've lost yourself in this struggle. You may look in the mirror and not recognize who you see. You may wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. But maybe wholeness doesn't mean going back to who you were before the pain. Maybe it means becoming someone new, someone who carries their scars with pride, who knows their worth not in spite of their struggle, but because of it, who has learned that strength isn't about always being okay. It's about showing up anyway. When you are breaking open, you begin to learn how to sit with your own heart. You begin to soften toward yourself. You begin to hold space for your grief, your rage, your longing. And in doing so, you discover something you never knew you had, your own capacity to love yourself through the darkest seasons of your life. That kind of self-love is not built on achievement or image or praise. It's built in the trenches, in the quiet moments when you choose to honor your pain instead of hiding it, when you choose to rest instead of push, when you choose to stay instead of run. Breaking open also teaches you how to see others differently. When you've walked through your own fire, you stop judging people for their mess. You begin to see the humanity in others more clearly because you've finally learned how to see it in yourself. You stop needing to be right all the time. You stop needing to fix or rescue or prove. You begin to realize that real connection doesn't come from performing strength. It comes from sharing your truth, and that truth is born in your breaking. In the moments when you are fully human, fully feeling, and fully honest about the fact that life is hard and beautiful and complicated all at once, this process changes everything, not because the circumstances around you suddenly improve, but because the way you relate to yourself transforms. You begin to trust yourself more deeply. You begin to listen to your inner voice instead of silencing it. You begin to show up for yourself with tenderness, with patience, with fierce compassion. You realize that even in your most shattered moments, you are still worthy of love. You are still worthy of respect. You are still worthy of belonging, not for who you pretend to be, but for who you really are, and that truth begins to anchor you. It gives you the courage to start again, to rebuild not from who the world told you to be, but from who you were always meant to become. The pieces you're picking up are not going back into the same shape. You are not returning to what was. You are creating something new. Something more honest, something more aligned, something more alive, and the breaking open, painful as it is the beginning of that sacred becoming. Your scars are not your shame, they are your power. That's a truth we're rarely taught and often struggle to believe. We're told to hide what hurts, to keep our brokenness tucked away, to make our past invisible so we can present the illusion of perfection. But perfection isn't power. It's a mask, and it's heavy. Your power doesn't live in the places where you've never struggled. It lives in the places you've been wounded and have still chosen to rise. Each scar tells a story, and not the story of weakness, the story of survival. The story of resilience. The story of someone who walked through something painful, maybe even unthinkable, and made it out the other side. When we hide our scars, we hide the very evidence of our strength. We silence the most profound and honest parts of our journey. But when we begin to see our scars differently, not as flaws to conceal, but as emblems of healing, we shift how we see ourselves and how others see us. We move from self-rejection to self-ownership, from hiding in the shadows to walking in the light. Your scars may not be visible on your skin, but they exist in your story, in the heartbreak you've endured, in the losses you've survived, in the battles you've fought behind closed doors. Emotional wounds leave marks too, and sometimes those are the hardest to carry. But even those internal scars carry wisdom, depth, and empathy. They've taught you what it means to be human. They've softened your heart in ways that make you more real, more grounded, more awake to what truly matters. We are conditioned to believe that in order to be worthy, we must be unbroken. But the truth is, worthiness is not something that depends on your history being clean or your journey being smooth. Worthiness lies in your willingness to keep going, to keep showing up, even with cracks, even with bruises, even when you're still healing. Those cracks are where your light pours through. They are not the end of your strength, they are the beginning of your power. Think about what your scars have taught you, the lessons they've etched into your bones, the way they've shaped your values, your priorities, your boundaries. There's a certain kind of clarity that only comes from pain and knowing that can't be taught in books or gained in comfort. You've learned who you can trust. You've learned how strong you really are. You've learned what you need, what you will no longer tolerate, what you deeply believe in. These are not weaknesses. These are the markings of someone who has been through fire and has not only survived but emerged more alive. And here's the truth that changes everything. When you begin to own your scars, you become a mirror for others. You give them permission to stop hiding. You create a space where honesty feels safe when you say, "Me too." When you share the parts of your story that once felt unspeakable, you shatter the illusion that we have to be perfect to be accepted. You remind people that they're not alone, that their pain doesn't disqualify them from love, that their story matters not just the polished parts, but all of it. That's what real connection is built on, not performance but presence, not polish but truth. We don't connect through our successes nearly as much as we do through our struggles. It's in the shared experience of being human, of feeling lost, of starting over, of getting knocked down, that we truly see each other. That's where compassion lives. That's where authenticity breathes. When you begin to understand that your scars are part of your beauty, not in spite of, but because of, you begin to stand taller. You begin to speak more freely. You stop apologizing for who you are and what you've been through. You stop editing yourself to make others comfortable, and you begin to walk with a different kind of power, not loud, not boastful, but undeniable, the kind of power that comes from being whole, not perfect. The kind of power that comes from being honest about your journey and still choosing to rise. And there is someone, somewhere, right now, who needs to see you doing just that. Someone who is still in the middle of their own storm, who is wondering if they will ever get through it, who feels like they are the only one struggling. When they see your scars, when they hear your story, they see possibility. They see hope, they see a path forward, not because you have it all figured out, but because you're willing to say, "I've been there and I'm still here." That kind of presence is medicine. That kind of honesty is healing. Your scars are a roadmap not of the pain itself, but of your healing, of the journey you've taken, the mountains you've climbed, the days you didn't think you'd make it through. They are reminders of what you've conquered, of who you've become, of how far you've come. And no one can take that from you. That story belongs to you. It is your truth, your fire, your legacy. When you shift your perspective, when you begin to view your scars not as reasons to hide, but as proof that you're still standing, you reclaim your power. You stop living in fear of being too much or not enough, and you begin to understand that everything you've lived through has prepared you for the impact you're here to make, not in spite of your scars, but because of them. Because they've made you compassionate. They've made you wise. They've made you real. They've made you someone the world needs. You were built for this. That's not just a comforting phrase. It's a truth woven into the very core of your being. Deep inside you is a well of strength, resilience, and fire that perhaps you haven't even fully tapped into yet. Life doesn't hand you challenges to break you. It brings them to awaken you, to push you toward the very power you carry within. You may not feel ready, you may not feel capable, but the fact that you're here, standing, breathing, facing it, that is already proof. You are more equipped than you realize, and the time has come to stop shrinking into fear and start stepping into your fire. There are moments in life that demand more than you've ever given before. Moments that feel like they're asking too much, stretching you too far, pulling you in too many directions. In those moments, it's easy to question everything. It's easy to wonder if you're falling apart or losing your grip, but often what feels like falling apart is actually falling asterisk into place asterisk. The discomfort, the uncertainty, the resistance, these are not indicators that you're failing. They're signs that you are crossing a threshold, moving from one version of yourself to another. This transformation isn't passive. It asks you to show up, to lean in, to dig deep, and that fire inside you. That's what gets you through. Fire is energy, it's movement, it's passion, but fire is also destruction. It burns away what no longer serves, what cannot go with you into the next chapter. When you step into your fire, you allow it to consume the doubts, the limitations, the roles you've outgrown, and the fears that have kept you small. And in that process, you don't lose yourself, you meet yourself. You come face to face with your truth, stripped of all the expectations and masks. You begin to understand what you're really made of. So many people wait for permission to rise. They wait for validation, for clarity, for certainty before they take the leap. But waiting rarely brings power. Action does. Decision does. Fire isn't something you wait for. It's something you step into, even if your legs are shaking. It's not about feeling fearless. It's about choosing to move forward in spite of the fear. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need all the answers. What you need is the courage to begin, to take one step, then another, and then another. Momentum creates confidence. Movement builds strength. When you stop avoiding the fire, when you stop running from the very thing that scares you, you begin to realize that the fire was never your enemy. It was your catalyst, your refining process, the thing that turns hesitation into power and wounds into wisdom. It's in the fire that your character is forged, that your conviction is tested, that your voice becomes clear and unshakable. You become someone who leads not because of ego or control, but because you've walked through the flames and found purpose on the other side. That power is not always loud. It doesn't always show up in grand gestures or dramatic breakthroughs. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's simply showing up on the hard days. Sometimes it's saying no to what doesn't serve you. Sometimes it's speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. These small, consistent acts of bravery, those are the sparks that feed the fire. Those are the moments that build unshakable confidence. They may not always be noticed by the world, but they are not wasted. They are what shape you into someone unmovable, someone rooted, someone unstoppable. And when you begin to walk in that fire, when you allow it to illuminate rather than intimidate, you start to see yourself differently. You stop asking for permission to take up space. You stop explaining away your dreams. You stop lowering your light to make others comfortable. You begin to embody your worth. You begin to act like someone who knows they belong. Because you do, you belong in your power, you belong in your truth, you belong in the fullness of who you are, not a watered down, edited version of yourself, but the bold, whole, unfiltered version that's been waiting to be unleashed. There's a certain freedom that comes when you stop playing small, when you stop shrinking your dreams to fit the mold of what others expect, when you stop letting fear dictate your choices. That freedom is fierce. It's focused. It's the kind of freedom that says, I may not have it all figured out, but I trust myself enough to move forward anyway. It's not about controlling every outcome. It's about aligning with your inner truth and following it relentlessly. That's how the fire grows. That's how your life begins to reflect the depth and purpose you've always felt inside. You may not always feel strong. You may doubt yourself. You may question your path. But don't let those doubts define you. Let them inform you. Let them remind you that strength isn't the absence of fear, it's the choice to keep moving with your fear in tow. Your fire doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be yours. It needs to be honest, real, unapologetic, and when you stand in it, when you trust it, everything around you begins to change. Not because the world gets easier, but because you get stronger. Because you become the kind of person who no longer needs external permission to claim their place in the world. The fire inside you has waited long enough. It's time to stop hiding, stop hesitating, stop holding back. You already carry everything you need to rise, not someday, not when you feel more ready, but now, right here in the midst of the mess, in the thick of the unknown, with the doubt still echoing in your ears. You were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to live on autopilot. You were made for more, for depth, for purpose, for impact, and the fire within you is how you get there.